Hi guys, I thought it would be fun today to do a get ready with me because I went to Walmart earlier and there was an entirely new brand. I've never heard of this brand before, and I quickly looked it up on YouTube and only saw one review out on it so far, so I think it's pretty new. I've not been keeping up with like everything makeup related on YouTube lately, but it intrigued me enough to pick up a few products. As I wanted to pick up a few more than I did, I ended up just picking up 3 things. So I'll go ahead and film my whole get ready with me, not just these 3 things, but I did want to show the 3 and let you know what I think about them. So the brand is called Pretty Smart, and it seemed like everything ranged from about $7 to $10, which is pretty good, except for if you're going to pick up like a whole face of makeup, that can add up pretty quickly. So again, that's why I just got 3 products. So I'm just going to start out with my face makeup, and I'm going to start out with the Radiant Face Primer. The whole brand says that it's vegan, by the way, which I thought was interesting. At such a low price point, I think it said it was vegan and cruelty-free on the display. I did take a video of the whole display, so I'll overlay that now so you can see all of the products that they had. I was gonna pick up a couple of the cheek products, but each one of them was about $9, and I didn't really want to pick up one of each, and I just figured I'll try the 3 of these first, and I can always pick up something else. They did have some foundations as well that were like a medium coverage, but number one, the shade range didn't look that good, and especially like leading into that, I think that the lightest shade was going to be too dark for me. So I opted to pick up the concealer because typically a concealer, the lightest shade, is lighter than the lightest foundation shade because a lot of people like a brightening color concealer, but I just like my concealer to match my skin tone. So this should work for me. I swatched it when I got home and I'm really interested in the formula. It seemed really nice. Back to the primer though. This is the Radiant Face Primer. And I didn't see that it had any added fragrance, but it did have some ingredients that might have a scent to them naturally. It doesn't smell like anything to me, so as I apply this, I'll kind of see if I notice any different fragrances, but I did decide to pick it up because I didn't see any added fragrance, and I really, really hope that is correct. So it feels really watery, and I love like a nice radiant hydrated base because my skin's really dry. There is a definite radiant film on my fingers from where I just rubbed this in, but it doesn't look glittery. I think it actually looks really pretty. If you can see this, that's like the texture I'm seeing on my fingers. It doesn't look like too metallic-y or glittery or anything, so far so good, and this doesn't smell like anything. So I don't know if foundation sits nicely on this. I think I might really, really like this. I'm really liking the texture of it, and I feel like it just looks nice and hydrated, so this is great so far. Also, I know my hair is a mess. I'm gonna fix it after my makeup, wanting to put on a little bit of makeup and mostly just try these things out. Okay, so like I said, did not pick up the foundation, so I'm just gonna use one that I already have been using in my collection. I was gonna pick up the new CoverGirl one where they like reformulated and repackaged one of those old like triangle glass bottles, but the lightest shade looked so dark for my skin tone and also like very warm toned. So I didn't pick that up, and I'm really glad that I didn't because I almost had to try it out. I'm like, I know this isn't gonna work. I'm gonna use the Kokie HD Skin Perfect foundation. Mine's in the shade 10C if you're wondering, but this is one that I know very well, so I want to try it on top of this primer, and then I just have a damp sponge. This is a sponge from the Sephora collection, but you guys know the Shop Miss A one is my favorite. I just had this one kind of on back up. I'm not trying to go for like a full coverage or full glam type of look. Like I said, we're just going to dinner, so I am gonna leave it at that, and then let's try the concealer. So this is the, of course, Pretty Smart Conceal and Appeal Concealer, and I got mine in the shade 200 Light Neutral, and this was the lightest one that the store had. It does have a doe foot, pretty standard, concealer packaging, so let's just try that out. It seemed to have pretty good coverage, but it seemed very creamy, and this is described as a creamy radiant formula, I believe. I remember reading that on the stand. This does have coconut products in it, so if you're sensitive to that, it says water and then coconut alkanes. I don't know what that means, but it does have coconut pretty high on the ingredient list, so I know a lot of people are sensitive to coconut products. Oh, try not to get that totally in frame. That blended in really easily. Interesting. They also had an eyeshadow primer, which I was intrigued by, but right now I have so many eyeshadow primers, I do not need another one. So It looks a little bit drier than I thought it was going to because of how it's swatched. It looked really pretty when I just put it on the back of my hand, especially since I'm using a sponge with it. But I'm gonna try and like blend it in, maybe with my finger, and just see if that changes anything. So it looks pretty yellow when I'm blending it out. And I know my lighting's not the best, but I mentioned in my last video, I think, I'm trying to, or 2 videos ago, I'm trying to just film when I want to and not like stress about the lighting or whatever. Like I just want to have fun with it. So if it's not, you know, the best like studio lighting, I'm sorry, but this is the best I have for right now. Okay, so as I build it up, it's definitely a little bit too yellow for my skin. And I, to be honest, am not liking how it's blending out and like how it's actually looking underneath my eyes. I really liked it on the back of my hand, but that doesn't always mean anything because, you know, the skin under your eyes is a lot more delicate, at least mine is, than the skin on the back of my hand. So that would kind of make sense. I'm gonna add a little bit here on my cheeks just to see how it looks. It does have pretty good coverage though, I will say. Yeah, I think this is just a bit too yellow for my skin. First impressions are not very good for me on this one. I'm not loving it. It's not the worst I've ever tried, but not that good. I'm just gonna wipe off any foundation that's on the lips, but we'll use the third product in a little bit. It is a lip oil, which looks really pretty. So I'm hopeful for that. Let's continue though. I'm just going to go ahead and finish up my face makeup. So I'm going to use the CoverGirl Clean Fresh powder. This is what I've been using every single day. Okay, the powder definitely is helping it look a little bit more smooth on the under eyes, but I definitely think that the concealer looks a little bit more dry than I would like on the under eyes. In person, I can still see the primer kind of like peeking through the foundation. And I really like that, so I'm glad with how that is looking. You can probably tell, especially here on the temple, it's a little bit reflective looking, and that's just because there's like direct light on it, but I think it looks really pretty. All right, for bronzer, I've been using this one from Milani. It's the Silky Matte bronzer, and as I'm using this, I'm gonna add a little bit, but I really want to use the Too Faced one again. So I'm gonna swap over to the Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil bronzer. Ooh, that was a lot. Whoops. Have to blend that out. All right, I'm just going to kind of go over the whole face with that same sponge because I put a little too much bronzer, especially on my forehead there. Then I'm going to use the NYX Buttermelt. It's actually a bronzer in the shade Buttercup, but I'm going to use it as a blush. This is a very warm toned bronzer on my skin, even though it doesn't really look warm toned in the pan to me, but on the cheeks it pulls kind of like a nice warm toned tan color, which I really have been liking as a blush. And then once again, I'm going to go over everything with my sponge. I will say I'm getting a bit of a headache, which I usually get with fragrance products, and I did not have a headache at all before I started filming, so it could be the light in my eyes because I really just don't smell anything in this primer, but sometimes I get a little bit stopped up. So what I'm going to do is have my husband smell the primer and tell me if he notices a fragrance. Maybe I'm just like too stopped up that I'm not noticing it, but I really don't think that there was one. I'm just kind of curious, like, why is my head hurting? Okay, for highlight, I'm going to use this one, which was from the e.l.f. Bite Size Duo in Cantaloupe, but I just kind of repressed the highlight, but it is originally from there. Are you guys planning to pick up the new Natasha Denona palette? Because I think I might get it. Yeah, I ordered this one from Viseart because I felt like it was like a pretty good neutral warm tone kind of palette, but it definitely pulls more orange on in my eyes, and I feel like the Natasha Denona one is the one I've been waiting for. I personally did not feel drawn to the blues in the gold palette originally, which is why I never picked it up. This one being like that without the blue shades is really calling my name, so I'm considering picking it up, and I might kind of pick it up as a birthday gift to myself in about a month or so. So I might end up getting that, but let me know if you guys picked it up. Are you liking it? Are you planning to pick it up if you haven't? What are your thoughts on that palette? Right now I'm using the Chasing Eternity palette from Myra. This one is another one of my favorites. So I'm just kind of creating a very simple look, starting out with the lightest matte shade, And then going in with kind of a light to mid-tone brown, so a bit more warm tone. And I'm being pretty sloppy with this, not gonna lie. I don't know, I might need to actually compare this one to the Natasha Denona one because the color stories might be slightly more similar than I even realized before. But I also really like to occasionally swap up my Natasha Denona palettes, so it might be interesting to try it out. All right, I'm gonna add just a little bit more depth with a slightly deeper brown shade, and then we'll add a shimmer shade, which I'm thinking I might use a single today from ColourPop. I wanna use this one from ColourPop. This is called Field of Fairies, and it's one of the Jelly Much eyeshadows. I really need to use this more. Ooh, yeah, I think it's starting to dry up. No. This is pretty dry now. Oh gosh, my nails look so bad. Sorry, guys. Well, dang. It was like all of a sudden it just started drying up. I knew I should have used this more, which I'm glad I only got the one. It's still working, but dang, it used to be so pretty. I just got this last year, so I knew I should have used it more. A year, I guess, is actually a long time for this type of makeup product. This is like crumbling all over my shirt, so this might be the last time I use this one. I'll try and kind of resurrect it with something, but I've heard that once it starts to dry out, they're kind of goners. So I just kind of hit pan in it. Can you see that? Little bitty pan. For brows, same as always. I'm gonna brush them out and then run them through with a pencil. This one is the e.l.f. tiny little pencil again. Y'all, someone complimented me the other day on my eyebrows, and I was very flattered. I feel like I never get compliments in real life about my eyebrows. I was like, wow, thank you. Sometimes on the internet I do. If I'm like showing my brow routine, I'll have some people comment, but I don't know. I'm so lazy with them lately. It came at a bit of a shock. And then some clear brow gel to just set everything, which I need to get a new one because this one's almost gone, it seems. I feel like the first clear brow gel from Anastasia I had lasted for so long, but I feel like I flew through the last one I had. Okay, I curled up my lashes and now I'm just adding some mascara, and I gotta say, I've kind of hated on this mascara in the past. It's from Wander Beauty and it's the Unlashed Volume and Curl Mascara, but I've now had it open for like 3 months or 4 months or something, and now I love it. So I guess it just needed to dry out, because at first I was like, I'm putting on mascara, I'm like, where's the mascara? I don't see it. And now I really like it. Okay, I had my husband smell the primer. He said there might be like a tiny bit of fragrance in it, but not noticeable, and it took him a minute to even notice that. So I don't think that's what it is. It might just be this light in my face. I haven't filmed in a while, so not used to it again. Which is, again, why I'm not sitting in front of a bunch of lights. I feel like I just can't catch a break. If you guys are still watching right now, let me know, like, what other kind of YouTube videos do you guys watch? Because I feel like my interests and hobbies and what I want to do with my time has just, like, drastically changed ever since I've intentionally been trying to take a step back and like stop looking at screens so much. I'm not saying I don't look at screens, but I got a Kindle, so I've been reading books on the Kindle, which is a nicer screen to the eyes than a phone. So that's been beneficial. And also it doesn't always have a light on. Like if it's light outside, I don't have to have a light on it at all, and it just looks like a piece of paper. So that's been good. And then I've been crocheting and sewing some, and just trying not to always be online. And when it comes to makeup, I haven't felt like as inspired by makeup in the last year, or a year and a half even, that I used to. And that was always the hobby that stuck with me for forever, which is honestly such a bummer. I'm not gonna lie. Like my other interests and hobbies would ebb and flow a lot, like with bullet journaling or not really drawing, but different types of creative outlets. But makeup was always like the one thing that stayed the same for years and years and years, and I feel like I'm drifting away from that. I don't know exactly why, but I do feel like all of the short form content and extremism of the trends have played a role into that, like how I'm consuming it and how I'm feeling inspired by it, because I just don't feel that inspired by makeup. Like, I'm not watching makeup content as much anymore. I feel bored with some of my previous like favorite creators, especially like larger creators. I feel like very bored by their content, and I'm having a hard time feeling like still excited by it. But then I have like this thing about, well, I spent a long time like working on my YouTube channel, so I hate to give it up. So I don't know if I want to like just film whatever I want to film. I don't know if you guys are into like different things, like whether it be about reading or different crafts or such, or just like, I don't know. Yeah, there's certain things I don't want to film because like I want to keep my life like private and to myself versus like putting everything online. But I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. So back to the makeup. I just want to know like what other things you guys like to watch on YouTube. Do you watch anything other than makeup videos? Like, what are you interested in? I'm just curious. But back to makeup. I'm really liking this primer like a lot. I can see it, I feel like, through the foundation. My face doesn't usually look like this glowy and radiant just with that Kokie foundation, so I feel like this mixture was really nice. It sat perfectly on top of it. I feel like my skin just looks really good. And then the concealer, I feel like now that I have powder on it, I like it. You know, nothing special, nothing crazy, but I don't not like it. Now that I have powder on, it looked a little bit more dry than I wanted it to originally, but I feel like it looks, you know, pretty kind of average and normal now. A little bit too warm tone for me, but I could get away with it, I think. I don't think I'll bother like returning it or anything like that. I think I'll use it. But let's try the lip oil. This is the Liquid Fuel lip oil, and it's in the shade 074 Bliss. It's a little bit darker than I thought it was going to be. It's always hard to pick something like this in the store, I feel like, because you can't swatch it, but let's try. Should be sheer enough. I think it'll be pretty. I don't know that this is my color. I'm gonna try and like blot some off. I don't know. I don't really love that color on my lips. Blotted off, it's fine, but it also kind of just looks like my lips now. Which maybe is the point, but I don't feel like it makes my teeth look any whiter. Formula wise, it feels fine. And I do like the color in the tube. I feel like it feels fine. I probably will never think about this lip oil again though, to be honest. I thought that I would like the color of it a lot, but it's a bit more punchy than I wanted it to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit more like subtle and neutral, which it is now that I blotted it off, but it just looked a lot more pigmented than what I thought it was going to be, especially in comparison to the packaging. So I thought it was going to be a little bit more of like a subtle, neutral, but not clear type of lip oil. So anyways, out of the three, if it were up to me and I could just go back, I would just pick up the primer. I wouldn't pick up the other two. Like I said, I'll probably use the concealer, but for me, this was a standout. I would suggest picking this one up if you like a nice, radiant, glowy face primer. I will definitely be using this again, probably a lot. So I'm excited about that being so easy to pick up at Walmart. So that is it for this Get Ready With Me. I need to fix my hair as it's all falling out of my ponytail and head to pick up some dinner. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know what kind of things you're liking on YouTube to watch. What kind of content are you consuming? It might give me some ideas for what to film and post for you guys to watch. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.